Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this week's webinar. So we're just going to give a couple more seconds to let more people join the session before we get started. So in the meantime, feel free to let me know if you guys can see me and hear me, and also let me know if you guys have any requests for any charts that you'd like me to go through, and I'll be sure to go through those in our live analysis session. So we'll give about 2 more minutes to let more people join the session before we get started. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Yep, we'll definitely do pound dollar and Aussie dollar as well. Keep the requests coming. We'll begin in 2 more minutes. Thanks, everyone. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, for those of you guys who've just joined, welcome to today's webinar. So, today we're going to be doing our pre-market analysis. As usual, before we get started, a disclaimer. So, I see Markets Global does not represent the material here provided is accurate, current, or complete, and therefore shouldn't be relied upon as such. The information provided here, whether from a third party or not, is not considered as a recommendation, an offer to buy or sell, or the solicitation of an offer to buy or sell any security, financial product, or instrument, or to participate in any particular trading strategy. A risk warning: trading forex and CFDs carries a high level of risk, and your capital of your capital, and you should only trade with money you can afford to lose. Trading forex and CFDs may not be suitable for all investors, so please ensure that you fully understand the risk involved and seek independent advice if necessary. Please read and ensure you fully understand our risk disclosure. Okay, so our agenda today, we're going to start off by looking at a couple of FX majors. So we've got a couple of requests for specifically for pound and Aussie. So we'll definitely go through those. And then we'll do our analysis on commodities, crypto, and indices. Um, okay, I see we have another request for gold. So we'll go through that. And then lastly, we have some custom requests. So if you guys have any requests that's not in any of these categories, feel free to let me know in the chat as well. Okay. So I'm Melanie. I will be your host for today. I'm an investment analyst at Rocket, who are finalists for Best FX and Equity Research in the years 2019 to 2021, specializing in technical analysis with a focus on Fibonacci retracements, extensions, and projections. Okay, now let me just pull up my charts and then we can get started. Okay, I'm gonna start off with can you guys see my charts? Okay, I don't think so. Just a second. Oop. Okay, just a second. Okay, should be working now. Yep. Okay, great. So, okay, let's start off by looking at the daily time frame, and then we'll work our way down to the 4-hour time frame. So in our daily time frame, you guys can see it's generally moving in this uptrend. So let's go in and add our support and resistance levels. Oh yes, we're gonna start off with pound yen because you can see we have some requests for that. Yeah. Okay. So starting off with pound yen, I'm gonna put my first resistance over here at this swing high. This is my first resistance. Next, I'm gonna place my pivot right about over here. Okay, and then over here, there's um, overlap support. Okay, overlap basically means that there are swing highs as well as swing lows that respect that area. And lastly, I'm gonna place my first support over here. Okay, so that's a really simple support and resistance analysis for our daily time frame. Okay, so we are predicting that it's gonna hit from our pivot towards our first resistance. And next, let's look at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, so on our 4-hour time frame, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna place my first resistance at the swing high. My first, my pivot, I'm just gonna place it here. Okay, and lastly, gonna place my first support just below here. Okay, same thing. You can see from our daily time frame, it was moving in an uptrend. So similarly on our 4-hour time frame, you can see it is definitely moving in an uptrend as well. Let's pull out some Fibonacci levels to support this analysis. So starting off with our retracements, I'm going to start off with these with these 5 levels. Okay, I might actually move our pivot up here, which is closer to where price is currently at. Okay, and you can also see that it's in line with over here. Okay, together with our 61.8. Okay, so we might see it continue to move upwards towards our first resistance. Okay. Okay, now let's look at pound dollar and Aussie dollar after that. Okay, so again, starting off by looking at the daily time frame. Okay, I'll place my first resistance here. Pivot over here at these multiple swing highs. Okay, and our first support would just be over here at these swing lows. Okay, so we are forecasting that price is going to drop from our pivot towards our first support. Okay, now let's take a look at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, same thing. I'm gonna place my first support at the swing high, or rather first resistance, and then my pivot is just gonna be here. And my first support just here. So again, similarly, we're expecting price to continue in this downtrend towards our first support. Let's pull out some Fibonacci levels to support this as well. So I'm going to start off with a retracement again. You can see immediately that our 61.8 lines up with where price is currently at over here. So these, when you're looking for Fibonacci levels, it doesn't have to line up exactly with your horizontal levels, so like your resistance or your support levels, just as long as they are kind of near the levels, that's good enough, because we are looking for confluence areas more so than specific levels. Okay, so we'll see price continue in this downtrend here. Okay, do you guys have any questions? This is for pound dollar. And then next, we're gonna look at Aussie dollar. Then if there are no other requests for any majors, then we'll move on to our indices and commodities. Let's move on to our AUD. Okay, starting off with our daily time frame again. Okay, so my first resistance will be over here. First support here. Okay, my pivot I'll probably place over here at this multiple swing low. And then my first support will just be here. Okay, I'm gonna place it here instead because we're expecting price to drop from there, from our first resistance to our pivot. Okay, now looking at our 4-hour time frame, same thing. My first resistance be over here. Okay, probably here instead because it's closer to where. Oh, okay, I think I'll label this as my pivot instead. And then my first resistance, I'll label it here instead. Okay, and then my first support just at this swing high. Cool. Okay, so we are expecting price to continue to drop from our pivot to our first support. Now going in with Fibonacci levels again, starting off with our retracement. Okay, you can see, let's see. Here our 61.8 lines up with our first support. So let's just keep that. Next, let's see if we have any projections. Okay, so for projections, we look at 78.6, 61.8, and 100%. Okay, and you can see that our 100% lines up as well over here. Let me zoom in with our 61.8. Okay, so when you have two or more Fibonacci levels lining up, it's considered a Fibonacci confluence area, and price is more likely to be attracted to those areas. So that's why I've highlighted this entire area, so that we can see whether price is going to continue in this downtrend towards our first support. Okay. Okay. Do you guys have any requests for any other major pairs? Okay, we have a request for dollar cat. Okay, let's take a look at that now. Okay, so again, starting off with our daily time frame. I'm going to place my pivot over here and my first resistance up here. Okay, and then my first support just over here in line with all of these swing highs. Okay, so we're expecting price to continue upwards to this pivot. Okay. Now let's look at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, I'm gonna place my first resistance over here. Okay, you can see this is a multiple swing high resistance. Next, my pivot, I'm just gonna place it over here. Okay, at this swing low. And lastly, my first support, I'm just gonna place it here. Okay, and then I'm expecting price to continue to our first resistance. So let's go in with some Fibonacci levels again. Again, I'm going to start off with our retracement. You can see our 61.8 lines up nicely with our first resistance. So let me just highlight this. Okay. Okay, so that's for dollar CAD. Yep, we can do euro dollar next, and then we'll get into our commodities. Okay, let's continue. So now daily time frame. Mm, I think we can see a little bit of a channel. Let's see. Okay, so we have an ascending trend channel here. So basically what makes a valid trend channel is if there are at least two touches on top and two touches below. Okay, so you can see price is moving within this trend channel now. Now let's go in with our support and resistance levels. Mm, Okay, this is my first resistance, my pivot here. Okay, here at this swing low instead. Mm. Okay, and lastly, our first support, I'm just gonna place it here at this overlap level here. Okay, so we're expecting price to continue moving in this ascending trend channel. Um, I think we also maybe have a retracement here. Okay, can see 61.8 lines up. And my 38.2 lines up with my pivot as well. Okay, so my 38.2 also lines up with my pivot. Okay, so you can see that over here we have a confluence area over here at our pivot. Okay, so we're expecting price to reverse off of this confluence area here and hit back towards our first resistance. Okay, that's for our daily time frame. Now, if we look at our 4-hour time frame, okay, I'm gonna label this my first resistance and my pivot and my first support over here. Mm, okay, we have this like bearish flag shape here. Okay, so we could be seeing prices continue to drop from our pivot towards our first support. Okay, that's our euro dollar on our 4-hour time frame. Do you guys have any other questions or any other major requests? Okay, if not, let's look at gold. Okay, so on our daily time frame, I'm just gonna place my first resistance, obviously at this swing high. I'm gonna place my pivot probably at this swing high here. And lastly, my first support. Let's see how far we can pull it back. Okay, all of these swing highs will be my first support. Okay, now let's pull out some Fibonacci levels. Um, Again, what I'm using here is a retracement. And I can see that my 50% lines up with this first support level. Wait, I think our 23 as well. Yeah. So our 23 and our 50% line up with our horizontal levels. So I am expecting price to continue to drop from our pivot towards our first support. Okay. This first support is also a pretty significant level since you can see how many times price has respected this area. So we are expecting price to be attracted to this area again as well. Okay, now moving on to our 4-hour time frame. Um, okay, so I'm gonna place my first support, my pivot over here. Okay, I'll explain why in a little bit. Okay, and my first support, I'm just gonna place it over here. Okay, so the reason for that is because over here I have this Nike tick shape. So basically what a Nike tick is we are looking at these levels. So the 127.2 as well as the 161.8. Okay, and the kind of shape that we're looking for is something like this. So basically like a Nike tick or like a V shape, but you want to make sure that the tail exceeds this 100%. So if it's inverted, it would be something like that. Okay. Now, I'm gonna see if we have any other levels that line up with these 127.2 and the 161.8. Okay, so I'm using a Fibonacci projection, which uses this tool, the Fib extension tool. Okay, so in this case, we are looking at the 78.6, 61.8, and 100%. Okay, and you guys can already see that we have 61.8 lining up the 127, and I think it's 78.6 that lines up with the 161.8. So let's just keep those 127, 161.8, and our Fibonacci levels 78 and 61. Cool. Okay, yeah. So this is why I have decided to place my first resistance over here instead at this level, the 161.8 level. Okay, so we'll probably see it continue to drop over here towards our first support. Um, but we'll see if price continues to be attracted to this level here. Since it is a confluence area, price might still be attracted and reverse off our first support and head back to our pivot. Okay, now let's look at DXY. Excuse me. So on our daily time frame, okay, so on our daily time frame, same thing. Starting off with our first resistance. I'm going to place it a little bit closer to where price is currently at. And I'm also going to try and pull it back as far as I can. You can see we have, this is so that we can see how many times price has respected this level. So you can see here we have 1, 2, and 3 times that price has reacted off of this level, making it a pretty significant level to take note of. Next, our pivot is over here. And our first support over here. Okay. Next, I'm gonna put a retracement here to see if we have any retracement levels that line up. So we're using these 5 levels again. You can see that my 50% lines up with my pivot. So I'm just gonna keep that. Okay, so we're expecting price to continue up to our pivot, and we might see it reverse off and head back down to our first support. Okay, let's look at our 4-hour time frame now. Okay, so on our 4-hour time frame, um, first resistance over here. You can see the number of swing lows over here. And in fact, you can see the number of swing highs that it also lines up with. So basically when there's swing highs and swing lows that line up, this is a overlap level, and it's a really important level to take note of, because price is likely to retrace back to this level here. Okay, you can see my 50% retracement also lines up with this first resistance. Next, my pivot will be okay, I'm just gonna place my pivot here. Okay, at the swing high here. Okay, so the reason for that is because there aren't really any levels that I can reference to. Or maybe here. Yeah, maybe the swing low here. So if you're wondering why I'm not pulling it back all the way here to this swing low instead, it's because over here we have it's a bit too messy. It's cutting too many candlesticks. So if you're cutting just the wick, that's fine. But if you're cutting too many bodies like you see over here, that's a bit too messy and we want to avoid that. Makes it less less effective. Okay, so I'll just leave it here instead. And my first support over here. Okay, so over here, we're expecting price to continue upwards towards our first resistance. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Okay, I think we have a request for ETH. Yeah, so let's quickly take a look at ETH as well. Okay, so on our daily time frame, let's see. I'll place my first resistance here. Okay, and my pivot perhaps here. And lastly, my first support over here. Okay, so going in with my retracement, same thing. I'm going to look at those 5 levels. Um, okay, you can see the 78.6 lines up with our first support. So I'm just going to keep that. Okay, I'm going to add another intermediate support level here as well. Mm, okay, and this will be my intermediate support level in line with my 38.2. So I'll keep the 38 and the 78.6. Okay, this is on our daily time frame. And we are expecting price to continue. Okay, we have to see because this area here, right? Mm, it's an overlap level and it's also in line with a Fibonacci level. So we might see it bounce up from this level to our pivot. Okay. And next, let's look at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, so on our 4-hour time frame, I'm gonna place my first resistance here. Actually, maybe I should place my pivot here instead. And my first resistance up here. Okay, I won't place it so high. I'll place it a little bit closer to where price is currently at. So I'm gonna place it at this overlap level here instead, closer to our pivot. And then my first support, I'm just gonna place it over here. Or actually over here instead. This is my first support. Okay, actually price has already broken that level. So I'll put it at the next support level over here. So I think we can all see that price looks like it's gonna continue to drop towards our first support. Okay, so to support this, again, I'm gonna go in with my Fibonacci levels. Okay, so I have one here. You can see our 38.2 lines up with our first support. Okay, over here. Okay, next, let's look at US 30. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm just gonna go straight into our 4-hour time frame. Okay, um, okay, so for our first resistance, I'm gonna place it up here. For our pivot, I'm just gonna place it at this overlap level. Okay, because again, we have swing lows and swing highs here, and price has recently surpassed this level. Okay, so I'm making that my pivot. And lastly, my first support, probably over here. Okay, at these swing lows. Or actually here. Yeah. So this is my first support. Now going in with Fibonacci levels again. Okay, we're expecting it to continue to drop to our first support. Okay, you can see that our 50% lines up with the pivot. Okay, and if I go in with a projection, okay, my 100% lines up, I think. Yep, lines up with my first support. Okay. Okay. Last one, we're gonna look at Bitcoin. Okay, so same thing. I'm just gonna look at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, wait, let's look at our daily time frame first. So first resistance up here. First support over here. And my pivot will probably be here, or here actually. Okay, at this swing high. And my first support, I'm just gonna place it over here. Okay, now looking at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, my first support over here, pivot over here, and first resistance up here. Okay, and we can see that it's going up towards our first resistance. Okay. Okay, I think we went through the AUD, so Aussie dollar, pound dollar. I think the majors that we went through are quite good. DXY as well that we went through. Can you look at the economic calendar? Yeah, so let's go ahead and look at the economic calendar now. So there are a lot of economic calendars that you can choose from online, but the one that we typically prefer to use is forexfactory.com. So let me show you guys. So when you go into Forex Factory, you can click on this date, and then you can look at this week's forecast, apply settings. You can see I have it set so that I'm only looking at the high impact events. This indicated by this red calendar. But if you click on this green icon, you can look at the medium, low impact events as well. You can look at types as well as the different currencies that you're interested in. Okay. So I typically prefer to look at all, and then at one glance, you can see all of the economic events for this week. It also tells you obviously it tells you the data releases, but it also gives you the forecasted data as well as the previous data for your reference. And once the data is actually released, it will give you the actual data as well. So yeah, you can take a look at this. Let's just filter it to only look at the medium and high impact. Okay, so you can see that for Japan, there's the monetary policy statement. Aussie has the RBA rate statement as well. Canadian CPI on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have UK CPI. Thursday, we have the FOMC statement for the US. Unemployment, or rather employment data for Aussie. Okay, in Switzerland, there is also the SNB monetary policy assessment. Flash manufacturing PMI for Euro, so German as well as I think the entire Euro zone as well. Okay, pound, we have UK monetary policy statements as well on Thursday. So you can see Thursday we have a whole bunch of really important data releases. And Friday we have the Euro Summit as well as flash PMI for US. Okay. Okay. I think that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys found this session helpful. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Bye. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye, everyone.